Okay, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you all. We are the meeting, and let me see, I need to bring up the agenda. I had to reboot my computer. And Rachel has sent around so many agendas. I think I was doing the wrong one. Oh, well. Oh, something is happening. This was unexpected. Okay, wow, I even got the agenda to show up. Well, it looks like we got five of us now. There will be six. I thought this committee was going to be a little bit bigger. But anyway, we
may have some folks that can't make the call. So
yeah, I would think that's probably the case. But we can start by I'll go around the horn and we will all introduce ourselves and say what areas we know about and what interests we have in the case or in this topic. I'm Bob Edmonds. I'm with the law firm of Fox Rothschild in Greensboro. Do mostly appellate work, was on the state Supreme Court, and have been involved in different types of litigation involving elections. And know a number of the lawyers who are involved in that. So I will call on you as I see you on the screen and, give us a quick introduction. Jill.
Hey there, everybody. Jill Hopman, New Hanover County in Wilmington. I'm an immigration and human rights attorney in real life. I'm chair of the New Hanover County Democratic Party in my fake political life, unpaid. And I've always been in voter protection stuff. I was on Hillary Clinton's legal team at national headquarters throughout 2016. I did Tish James's as a voter protection attorney for her attorney general campaign. I did it for the Biden-Harris administration in 2020. And I am the county liaison for voter protection now for the party.
Okay, great. Well, good to see you.
And I also did litigation for Sherry Beasley during her recount procedure.
You touched almost every recent election, it sounds like.
For the most part. This is my personal passion in politics. I think voter protection and voting rights are important.
Okay, well, great. Mariah.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mariah Harrelson. I'm a second-year law student at UNC Chapel Hill. I was born and raised in Charlotte. I'm a double Tar Heel, so graduated from UNC undergrad in 2019. I'd studied public policy and political science there, and then in between undergrad and law school, I worked in Washington, D.C. at Deloitte doing federal government consulting. So I was mostly focused on writing public-facing policy documents for federal agencies, things like White House reports. I'm really loving being in law school and being back in North Carolina and just super excited to be working on this important issue with you all.
Great. Just remember, as you go through law school, it gets better. So hang in there.
It already has so far. Every semester's been a little bit better. So.
Okay, we just heard from Bob Orr. Yes, sir.
I said Mariah's a rock star. She's doing so well in law school that we have no worries about her.
Well, I wasn't worried till you started that, but then we're okay. Are you having any luck with your computer, Bob?
I've got a lot of things pulled up on two computers, but I've yet to get a link that gets me into the meeting. So just keep rolling. If worse comes to worse, I'll just chime in via the phone.
Okay, I'll see if I can forward you this email. Make sure you've got the right one. Gosh, my computer is slow as molasses. Whoops. Okay, it's en route to your R for website. Anyway, Mariah, y'all may not know this, but Bob Orr and I were in law school together. So as we like to joke, if you add our GPAs together, one of us would have made law review, barely. Blake.
Yeah, Blake Brewer here. I'm a senior consultant at APCO Worldwide, which is a public affairs firm. I do government relations work. Prior to that, was with Chief Justice Paul Newby at the Supreme Court, and before that, Lieutenant Governor Forrest. I've advised campaigns, been on the government side, on the campaign side, and am happy to be on the commission and lend any expertise that I can.
Great, thank you. And we have one that's read AI meeting notes. Is that a human?
I think it's a transcription service. I don't know if
Yeah, that makes sense, Blake, because we did get the this recording notice when we got there. Oh, Raz. Okay, Bob, I didn't hit the confirm, so it should be on its way to you now.
Right.
Let me get the agenda back up if I can get to that. Okay. All right, well, we've got an interesting mix here. With, Blake worked with the Newby campaign, and Jill worked with the Beasley campaign. Did y'all know each other before?
so I wasn't on the Newby campaign. I was with the lieutenant governor at the time, and then once the race was called, ended up working on the government side. And so when I was with the chief, I handled appointments to boards and commissions, his schedule, and sort of liaised with other state government departments.
Okay. And here we have chiming in Zachary Deason. Zachary, can you hear us? Looks like his may be frozen. And Bob, you may be, there you are. Okay, I'm going to cut off the phone.
I am. It's a miracle. It's a miracle.
Okay, we've been having some fun, I see. Mr. Deason, if you can unmute and hear us, let us please introduce yourself.
Certainly. Thank you, gentlemen. This is Zach Deason in Charlotte, North Carolina. Sorry for my lateness there. I had a little technology problems myself, but I'm all here and ready to help and participate.
Okay, give us a little, background on, if any, anything you've done in the election fields, the reasons for your interest, that sort of thing.
Certainly. Well, I'm an attorney here in Charlotte, and I do car wrecks and workplace claims. That's my day job. But I've been actively involved with the Democratic Party of Mecklenburg County and served as their legal counsel for a while. I was also an officer with the Mecklenburg County Democratic Party, and before that in the Union County Democratic Party, and also been active in several cases. I was born and raised in Union County, but I married a Charlotte girl, so you can guess where I moved to.
to the big city.
The very big city.
Yeah.
Excuse me for saying this, Zach, but I didn't know Union County had a Democratic Party.
Well, when I first moved out there, the meetings could be held in a very small room. Let's put it that way. And they're doing a little better, but it's still a small room.
Thank you for joining us. And as I think all of you know, we are, in these meetings and with this group, we are relentlessly nonpartisan, except for teasing each other.
That's more than fine.
Okay, earlier this week, Bob and I, and when you say Bob, sometimes you're going to have to specify which one you're talking to, participated in one of the other committee meetings, and what we really went, the tone of the discussion, the focus of the discussion is, what do we want to talk about? as we go through this year, or the next 6 months. Where do the interests lie? What would we like to look at? Bob and I talked a little earlier this week. I had given some thought to maybe asking somebody like Bob Hunter, who I think some of you know, who does a lot of election law, as another Bob who was on the Supreme Court, though fairly briefly, to talk, just sort of talk to us about different forms of, or different avenues that are available post-election, and how things work. And Justice Ork suggested that it might be good to just have this meeting, see where our interests lie, find out, people may already know everything Bob would have to tell us. So we're going to be a little bit open as we discuss this, and just sort of see where we want to take this. We do need to remember our focus is post-elections, not pre-elections. So we're not going to be looking at things like, making sure voting is guaranteed, that sort of thing.
Yeah, let me chime in. I would say, we have a degree of flexibility. I mean, it's not like, the steering committee has set hard and fast parameters. I think certainly, as Brother Edmonds has indicated, we're looking at what happens with challenges at the election process and time frame. But I think we may want to at least early on kind of look at other areas that, or at least learn about other areas involving election challenges that are out there, with a 2-point focus. One being is educational. It's educational for us. It's educational, hopefully, for the broader community that we're going to try and work with this project, and also to increase confidence that there is a remedy, a legal remedy, if you think there's an election problem. The Carter Center focus is initially has been on, we want to try and minimize people thinking that if they think there's a problem, that there's some sort of confrontational process for them to go and threaten people or to challenge election workers. And I think one of our missions, I hope, ultimately, is to have the general public know, all right, if you don't think this part of the process is working, there's a legal process where you can challenge it or raise the questions. Here's how you do it. Here are the people that are in charge of it. And then I think, and then I'll shut up unless we want to listen to everyone's opinion on this. There are a few squirrely things out there, like there's a provision in the state constitution that if you can't decide who won the election, and it's an Article 3 office, which would be the governor, lieutenant governor, the council of state, then the legislature decides who wins. And that happened back around 2000 in the June Atkinson, Bill Fletcher race for superintendent of public instruction. And I kind of thought that I knew a lot about the state constitution. I had no clue that was in there. And, we've had a couple of races. I mean, one that was considered was, the Cooper McCrory race that, there were questions about the tightness of the race. So anyways, I mean, I think I want everybody to feel that we have some flexibility. And if you come across something that's of particular interest, or you think it's a problem that we need to talk about, we want you to feel comfortable in letting Bob and me know, or let Rachel Capon, who our staffer, who's our staffer and couldn't be on the call today. But so I think we want to hear from you. So I'll be quiet and let y'all talk.
Yeah, let's go around the horn. Jill, any thoughts on areas you would like for this committee to explore particularly?
No, genuinely not. Like, I'm just interested in overall the different things we can do to improve post-election challenges and the legal processes, but nothing specific. I'm also here to learn from all of you who know more than me, so I appreciate that too.
Well, I'll ask you, and I'll ask everybody to consider this too. Would it be good at the next meeting to bring in somebody who does actually carries out this type of litigation to tell us about the process? I mean, Bob was talking about the state constitution. The first time I won an election, I had to call the attorney general to find out what I did next, because I thought, geez, what if I sit around and I'm supposed to sign a paper and I don't sign it, and there it goes. So
I would love that. I would love some background. Most of my litigation stuff is in New York. I moved back here in July of 2020. So the Beasley campaign, other than doing regular election processes, is really the only post-election challenge I've worked on. So I'd love the process to learn background on North Carolina legal processes.
okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
and if any of y'all, we certainly want a bipartisan group of lawyers talking to our group. So we know some, obviously, but y'all may know others at the local level or that you've worked with that have a degree of expertise. If you have suggestions, let us know.
Yeah, it's been somewhat my experience that the lawyers on both sides, Republican and Democrat, who do the work know each other, work together a lot, and their professional opponents tend to get along.
Yeah.
But we're not going to be trying to push any point of view. Zach, how about you?
Well, I mean, I guess when it comes to, post-election things, I guess one of the issues that often comes up is, you know, absentee ballots and, rides to the poll type ballots. I know that's been a, big touchy issue down in Anson County, as a lot of ride to the poll efforts there have then set off a lot of voter challenges over whether or not those votes should count and how they work. And I know that that was a, big tool that the Obama campaign used to get a lot of votes, was to work that and how that might interact. I haven't worked on any post-election challenges. I did worked on several kind of filing type challenges over the years and looked at some of those, but I've never worked really on anything post-election. But I do know that, it is a growing issue with, absentee ballots, and then with ballots regarding people getting, rides to the polls types of things, and how that challenge might work and be better understood, that how that is, what parts of that are okay and what parts of that are not okay.
Okay, thanks, Zach. Blake, any thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm the only, I think, non-attorney or non-law school student, and no intention to go to law school on this committee. And for me, a couple of thoughts. Well, one, certainly want to learn more, but how do we tell the story of the process? For the most part, the objectivity of the process. I mean, ultimately, there is some subjectivity, and when ballots are counted and things like that. But really telling that story about the objectivity, and really bolstering that confidence. And it's going to be interesting too that we're doing all this as we deal with these challenges to these bills that have changed the elections boards. And so I think we're going to build the plane as we fly it, to say.
Okay, thank you, Blake. Where are you, by the way, now?
So I mean, my firm is in Raleigh,
Okay.
but I live in Nash County, and I commute in whenever I need to be at the General Assembly or downtown for meetings or whatever the case is. Currently, I'm in Greensboro because my wife is on a business trip, and I have accompanied her.
Okay, well, I see you get to go to lots of exotic destinations.
Yeah, yeah, Justice Edmund's hometown.
Yeah, that's Greensboro is out the window you see there. Mariah.
I was going to say something pretty similar to Blake. I think in talking to my peers, the perception is increasingly that the whole process is chaotic and what happens afterwards is chaotic, and people are just launching lawsuits back and forth. So anything we can do to document the process about what happens after an election to ensure fairness, I think would be so helpful in just helping the public perception be that there is still fairness in the system. And I think that is similar to what Bob was saying. A little bit of part of that is increasing confidence and fairness leading up to the actual day of the election. But I just feel like most people don't have a clear image in their mind of what happens once votes start getting counted. And then if there are any problems with that, what then? So yeah, anything like that would probably be helpful.
Just so you know, and just because we just got notice this morning, our local boards of elections is doing their absentee ballot review process on December 18th. And this is about the time that the local boards get them. And I've always learned a lot just from reviewing absentee ballots and seeing common mistakes, how to better educate voters. If you are bored and need something to do outside of UNC Law, where I also went, but I'm a diehard Duke fan where I went undergrad, just to be totally clear, you should definitely contact them, because going to the Board of Elections has helped me like since I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, Bob, earlier or last year, or I guess in 2022 now, Bob and Jennifer Roberts put together a fair elections program that went to each of the districts, congressional districts. And what they did, I participated in a few of them. Bob went to all of them, as did Jennifer. They would have members of the Board of Elections, you know, the Republican sitting beside the Democrat, you know, who generally said, we don't agree on much, but we hear the things we agree on. And they talked about how, you know, how the process works, what safeguards are there. And of course, it's hard to get people to come to these things, but I think those who attended them found they were fascinating. And getting to the education part of it, trying to figure out how to get that word out. You know, newspapers don't do it anymore. Social media is we're all suspicious of it. But I think when you hear people say, you know, I'm a Republican, he's a Democrat, but the one thing we agree on is that everybody ought to get the vote and the vote ought to count. It goes a long way towards sort of calming the roiled waters that many people seem to feel these days.
I think one area that hasn't been mentioned that potentially will lead to some issues in the upcoming election, and I think I'm correct on this, is the expansion of poll observers. Jill, I think you may have a better handle on that from your background, but what we did here is, you know, there are rules and limits on what poll observers can do, who the poll observers, you know, are, how they get approved. And while that's not a legal challenge, I think you could very well see legal challenges coming out of it. Bob and I were at a Court of Appeals dinner last night, and we were talking to Bob Hunter, and some fella had been handing out something like lollipops in the voter line and had been asked to leave, and was looking for a lawyer to sue the Board of Elections for impeding his ability to work the line. And while that seems very trivial, you know, if people care enough to go out and directly participate on election day, either as observers or engaging with people in line. It's ripe for problems, and I think understanding how you would address those if you think you're being kept from doing something, or if you see somebody engaging in conduct that you think is detrimental to the election process, what do you do? I mean, I vote in a very rural county, and so it's not like I can just pop down the street to the Board of Elections. Or if you're in Mecklenburg, how do you get in touch with the officials that are 15 miles of urban traffic away to deal with this? And so that's one area that I think would be beneficial for us to take a look at.
I think there will be challenges over 747, so I think that's a really good idea.
Okay, that does raise an interesting question for me. Is that post-election procedures? But I don't think we need to be straitjacketed by, the name of this committee. We can go, I think, where our interest will take us.
Yeah, that's one good thing about being an independent commission as opposed to a government commission. We're not operating under any statutory guardrails.
Okay. So that I gave Rachel a list of topics off the top of my head that we might discuss, and that's where you see the topics to address on the agenda. Legal procedures that follow an uncontested election, familiarity with legal actions that are available where the outcome is contested. And one thing I think it is interesting to note is, state procedures and federal procedures are not always parallel. But do we have a sense of where we're going now? I mean, I think education / outreach is important. And as the two things Bob said, they're really intimately tied. Education, we hope, will lead to increased faith. That while the process is messy, it is reliable.
So, well, one thing we need to, I know, and that may be sort of the final thing, is we want to have our first meeting in January, and we're arguably going to try and have a meeting a month aimed towards having some sort of report by, or at least draft report by June. I will say I've got 1 week that I'm actually taking some time off in January. It's right in the middle, Wednesday to Wednesday. I want to say here, I'm looking at my real calendar. Remember, the 17th through the 24th. I'm sort of out of pocket, or at least I'm out of pocket on the travel days. But
hang on a second, Bob. We just got a new visitor, Jill Hopman.
Nope. Jill,
Yes.
no, Jill.
Still me. I'm just making another cup of coffee and did not want to distract you with my kitchen.
Nah. Same Jill.
Oh, okay. I didn't even recognize the picture because it's so tiny on the screen. Okay, I'm sorry, Bob. Well, what we can do is we can, say a particular, like this second, I'm just shooting my mouth off here, but the second Wednesday of each month.
Well, that's what I was going to try and avoid Wednesdays. I think the
Yeah.
other committee we were on was doing Wednesdays. Are there days? I know, Mariah, you're going to be in class. I'm assuming you got your schedule. So, what are days and times that work best for those on the call? We'll just start with the core group here.
Or better yet, what should we not do if somebody has a recurring event?
Mondays are bad for me. I have both recurring meetings in the morning and normally most evenings. So Mondays preferably not.
Yeah, most lawyers find Mondays are pretty well taken. And another thought is that might affect this is there any particular time of day that works best? We're a little early this morning, but on the other hand, it didn't collide with any other scheduled events. I'm inclined to say let's aim for like 9 o'clock. 8:30 was a little bit early. At least.
I'm trying to pull up my schedule for next semester. Let's see.
As a general rule, I will prefer the morning meetings. They will be easier for me to make.
Okay, thanks, Zach.
Same.
I
I
can do
prefer-
these Thursdays at 9 work well for me.
I'm sorry, Blake.
Thursdays at 9. Was that what you were suggesting? A 9
Yeah,
o'clock slot?
yeah, just trying to get an idea if that might work.
Yeah, that will work.
That would work for me too.
Okay, then shall we say like?
We're still looking for Mariah's schedule. Of course, Bob and I never worried about cutting classes, but we don't want to ask Mariah to do that.
I do have an 8:45 class on Thursday.
Thursdays.
Unfortunately, Tuesday, Thursday.
Okay, well, we could
Is that
do.
for an hour? Is that for an hour?
It's 8:45 to 10:10.
Fairly long class.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're avoiding Mondays. And you got, that's Tuesdays and Thursdays, Mariah?
Unfortunately.
What about Friday mornings? That would work for me too.
Yeah, Fridays.
Friday would be
Fridays.
fine with me. I don't generally have any. I have a recurring thing at 11 on Fridays, but anytime, we could start at 9, 10. Either would work fine.
I don't
Yeah.
have class, so that works.
Yeah, maybe 9 on Fridays.
9 o'clock. Shall we say the second Friday? That would be January 13th, February 10th, March 9th, April 13th. Wait a minute, I just read you Saturdays. Sorry.
Yeah,
You can see what kind of chaotic leadership we've got here.
The 12th.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that. We'll aim for the second Friday of each month. At 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. And Zachary, I assume our meetings will be, we'll aim for an hour, but we'll be flexible. Blake, is this okay with you?
Fridays at 9 works.
Okay.
Going back just for a minute to issues to study or to look at. And I know, again, this is not a post-election issue, but the challenge statute on how you challenge candidates, we probably ought to at least take a look at that. That doesn't happen a lot. The article or the 14th Amendment issue involving President Trump is sort of an interesting question on how would you challenge a presidential candidate. But each election, there are usually 2 or 3 people who are challenged on residency grounds, and it's an administrative and then legal proceeding. But I think we might want to spend just a little bit of time on that.
I know that's becoming a grower issue. One of the towns, I want to say down there near Whiteville, half their candidates challenged over addresses this year.
Yeah.
I saw that in one of the small papers when I was traveling, and then, you know, that tends to be a big issue around even Mecklenburg County about addresses as well. And when they tried to do the judicial districts in Mecklenburg County, that became a big issue with judges needing new houses.
Well, I think there are a number of sort of discrete issues that like that we could spend a little bit of time on. We just need to get the experts to come in and tell us how it works, and maybe somebody who's been involved in one. Jill, I don't know whether you've been involved in one, but the way it works now, you have to get a voter in the district who then files a complaint, and if it's a multi-county district, state board has to pick one of the local boards to do the hearing. So you could have a hearing with no lawyers involved or all lawyers, depending on the makeup of the board. They make a recommendation that goes to the state board. It's a little bit of a convoluted process, but it gets folks riled up. So I throw that out there as just one more thing to look at. But I would suggest between now and maybe the end of the year, you know, let Mariah get through exams, that, you know, be poking around at the general statutes and what kind of litigation has been out there, what kind of problems or controversies there may be, and circulate. Probably the best thing is send it to Rachel, and she'll do a little memo and get it out to everybody, or send it to Bob and me. Although Rachel's far more reliable than us, but anyway, I want everybody sort of thinking about where we want to go beyond this.
And also be thinking about effective ways of outreach, sort of a consistent problem. And if any of you, I mean, there's a wide variety of experiences on this call. If there's anybody you can think of who might be a good speaker, somebody who could join us for a meeting to talk about a particular area that in whom you have confidence, you know, I think we'd be happy to welcome them, you know, to talk with us. So we will schedule, I will let Rachel know what we have been doing and tell her what our call schedule is. So I hope you won't find your hosts are scrambling at the last minute like they were now to figure out how to get on.
Yeah, if we'd had Rachel, we would have been on quickly. So.
Yeah, I figured when I called Bob and told him I was having trouble, everything was going to be okay, but he said he was having worse problems.
But we made it. We're good. We're good.
Yeah.
But we again, let me just say on behalf of the steering committee, we really appreciate everybody's participation and willing to invest time and energy in this. I think it's an important project, and will become even more critical as the election cycle moves forward.
I think so. Just remember, hanging chads, everybody.
That's right.
Well, one of the things I've been surprised to watch and learn is I didn't know that we still did coin flips. The mayor of Monroe was decided by a coin flip. There was a town council officer out in Silva that was decided by a coin flip. I would hate to think if we got something that was like county or even multi-county wide that had to go to a coin flip, what that would look like.
Well, I mean, that's a good topic to discuss. What do you do with a tie?
Well, apparently right now, like I said, they had a, you know, the coin flip in Monroe, and it went pretty peaceable, and everybody seems to be, from what I can tell, okay with it. But that's what it was.
Yeah, and I mean, we all saw how close the Chief Justice's election was. And when you're in an election, you sort of see that there's a certain irreducible amount of errors that occur in close, so tough ballots. Jill, thanks for sending that information along. Let me get it before we close out. Jill sent her contact information.
Just in the chat. So you guys have it if anybody needs to reach me. I'm very much a night owl, so reach out at any time.
838.
We'll be coming to Wilmington for warm weather when warm weather hits.
And
from
come,
me.
I want to do the Trusted Elections tour again. I thought it was great. We just need to promote it better and get more people to come. I thought it was really effective.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. We will work on that. Right now, we're all sort of drinking from a fire hose, trying to get this up and started. But yeah, I think it's a good project. We're hoping maybe localities can kind of do their own, take the model that we used, and in that way, we don't necessarily have to be at all of them. But anyway, anything else? I've got to get on a call here shortly with another one of our commission members. Anything anybody needs to?
I will try to line up at least one lawyer to speak at our next meeting. And my first, as I mentioned, I think my first call is going to be to Bob Hunter, because I've known him forever. He represents usually Republicans. He has represented Democrats, and he can talk about it impartially. But if anyone else has a suggested person, just let me know, let Bob know. We can probably bring them both on.
Hunter is entertaining, if nothing else. Say,
Yes, he is.
yeah. All right. Well, Mariah, good luck on exams. Getting cranked up, right?
Thank you. One to go on
One to
Monday.
go. All right.
Closing in on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Knock 'em dead.
All right. Justice Edmonds,
Yes.
thank you for leading this effort.
So the next meeting is going to be, it'll be January 12th at 9 o'clock.
And that's the day the Board of Elections starts mailing out absentee ballots for the primary. So it is a good day.
Okay, good coincidence. 9 o'clock a.m. next meeting.
Hard to believe it'll be here that fast.
It's crazy town. As soon as our municipals were over the next day, we had to fill our 24 ballots, which I'm still in the middle of. It's crazy town.
24 hour a day cycle. All right, gang. Thanks so much for participating, and we will look forward to talking. If I don't talk to you before Christmas, I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday and safe, and we'll look forward to lots of adventures here in 2024.
We'll have some fun.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.